The message came from the edge of the galaxy. Captain Elias Voss stared at the holographic screen in front of him, his fingers tightening around the armrest of his chair. The signal was old, at least 50,000 years, but its warning was crystal clear. Do not approach Earth. The words were repeated in different alien languages, some so ancient that even the ship's AI struggled to translate them. Do not awaken what they guard. A cold chill settled over the bridge of the Starfire, the human exploration vessel that had spent the last 7 months mapping abandoned worlds. They had found ruins, wreckage, and silent monuments left behind by long-extinct alien civilizations, but never a warning like this. Elias turned to his crew. This was sent by a dead empire, a race wiped out thousands of years ago. Why would they fear Earth? Nobody answered. But everyone was thinking the same thing. A message from the dead. Dr. Sienna Carter, the ship's xenolinguist, leaned closer to her console, her dark eyes scanning the decrypted text. This signal is being repeated from multiple dead civilizations, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The same message, over and over, across thousands of years. Commander Rourke, the ship's tactical officer, folded his arms. That doesn't make sense. Humanity wasn't even a space-faring race back then. We were just discovering fire. Sienna swallowed. Then what exactly were they afraid of? The ship's AI, Argios, interrupted them with a cold, mechanical voice. Unknown anomaly detected. Origin. Earth. Elias snapped his head up. What kind of anomaly? A long silence. Then Argios spoke again. Something is transmitting from beneath Earth's surface. A signal from home. Elias's hands tightened into fists. That's impossible. Who's sending it? Unknown. The transmission is buried deep, far below human settlements. Estimated depth, 300 kilometers beneath Earth's crust. Silence filled the bridge. Everyone on board had been to Earth at some point. It was their home, their cradle, the one planet they thought they fully understood. But this, Rourke's voice was tense. There's no way we could have missed something like that. Earth has been studied for centuries. Every inch of it has been mapped. Sienna shook her head. Not every inch. Elias stood up, staring at the holographic map of Earth that flickered before them. A red dot pulsed deep within the planet's surface, a hidden signal that had been sending a message for thousands of years. It was calling out. To who? Or worse, to what? Ignoring the warning. This is a trap, Rourke said firmly. We shouldn't go near it. Elias exhaled slowly. We have no choice. We're the only ones who know about this. If something is hidden beneath Earth, something dangerous, we need to understand it before it's too late. Sienna's voice was quiet. What if we're already too late? No one answered. The Starfire's engines roared as the ship turned, setting course for Earth. The warning from the lost empires still blinked on the screen, the same message repeated over millennia. Do not approach Earth. Do not awaken what they guard. But the crew of the Starfire had already made their decision, and something beneath Earth's surface was waiting for them. The Starfire entered Earth's orbit in silence. Captain Elias Voss sat at the command chair, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. Below them, the red pulse of the hidden signal flickered deep beneath the planet's surface. No human records had ever mentioned it. No satellite had detected it. But someone, or something, had buried it there. And now it was waking up. The descent into the unknown. Initiating deep scan. Argos, the ship's AI, announced. The ship's scanners reached into the depths of Earth's crust, peeling away layers of rock and magma. The results appeared in fragments, at first just static, then blurry outlines. Then, finally, clarity. Elias's stomach twisted. Beneath the Earth, hidden under kilometers of rock, lay a massive underground structure. It was not natural. It was not human-made. Sienna Carter, the xenolinguist, gasped as more details emerged. The walls of the structure were covered in symbols, alien symbols, etched in materials that defied every scientific explanation. This is impossible," she whispered. "This thing has been here for millions of years." Rourke's voice was tense, and we had no idea. Elias clenched his jaw. "We know now." The decision was made. They had to go down there. Breaking into the vault, the team suited up and boarded a small dropship, descending through Earth's atmosphere toward an isolated stretch of land, far from any human civilization. The signal was strongest here. As the dropship landed, the crew stepped out into a desolate wasteland, a crater where nothing grew. At the center stood an ancient stone slab, cracked but still pulsing with energy. Sienna ran her gloved hand over the carvings. These symbols, they matched the ones from the lost civilizations. "Translation?" Elias asked. Sienna hesitated, then spoke in a trembling voice. "They are still here." The ground rumbled beneath them. Then, with a deep, thunderous crack, the stone slab split open, revealing a dark passage leading deep underground. A gust of stale air hissed out, air that had not been touched for eons. The warning messages from extinct empires flashed in Elias's mind. "Do not awaken what they guard." But it was too late. They had already opened the door. The passage yawned open before them, an abyss of pure darkness stretching deep beneath the Earth's surface. A cold wind rushed out, wrong, unnatural, like a breath from something that had been waiting. Captain Elias Voss gripped his rifle tighter. His team stood tense at the entrance, the air thick with anticipation. Sienna Carter ran her fingers over the alien carvings that lined the tunnel walls. "These symbols, they're not just warnings." Rourke frowned. "Then what are they?" She swallowed hard. "Instructions. Descent into the unknown." They moved carefully, their boots echoing against the stone floor. The deeper they went, the more unnatural the tunnel became. The walls were too smooth, the angles too perfect. This place wasn't just built, it was grown. The deeper they went, the more the temperature dropped. And then, the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber. The team froze. In the center of the room stood a monolithic black structure, humming with energy, covered in the same ancient script. But beneath the text, something else was there. A door. And something behind it, moving. The forgotten prison. Sienna approached the structure, her scanner flickering with error messages. I don't think this is a vault." Elias's voice was grim. "Then what is it?" She turned to him, her face pale. "A prison." Rourke's rifle was already raised. Who the hell did they lock up down here? A low thrum echoed through the chamber. Then the symbols along the walls lit up, one by one, pulsing in synchronization. A message scrawled itself across Elias's visor, the AI auto-translation struggling to keep up. "You have made a mistake." The ground beneath them shook. Then, with a slow, deep groan, the door began to open. Something massive stirred behind it. Something ancient. Something that was never meant to be free. And it was waking up. The vault door groaned, its massive locks disengaging after eons of silence. The ground trembled beneath the team's feet. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling as a deep mechanical hiss echoed through the underground chamber. Captain Elias Voss took a step back, rifle raised. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. "Everyone, hold position," he ordered. But it was too late. The door opened, and something stepped out. The first glints. The chamber was suddenly bathed in sickly blue light, emanating from within the vault. The figure inside was huge, its silhouette monstrous and inhuman, yet disturbingly precise, like a design built for a purpose beyond comprehension. Sienna Carter's breath hitched. That's not a living thing. She was right. The being inside was not organic. It was a machine. A war construct unlike anything ever recorded. Its body was black metal, covered in shifting vein-like conduits of energy. Its head, featureless except for a single burning red eye, tilted slightly as if studying them. Then it spoke, a voice not meant for human ears, like metal grinding against metal, but translated instantly into their comms. Identify. The word carried weight, not just in sound, but in presence, as if it demanded an answer not just from the team, but from reality itself. Elias swallowed hard. We are explorers. From Earth. For a long moment, there was silence. Then the machine's eye pulsed. Earth, still exists. The forgotten guardian. Rourke tensed. It knows Earth. How? Sienna's hands were shaking over her scanner. This thing is ancient, millions of years old, at least. It predates every known civilization. Elias kept his rifle trained. Then who built it? The machine's eye dimmed, as if recalling something long buried in time. The Sioriators are Joan. Only I remain. The temperature in the room dropped. Sienna's voice was barely a whisper. It's a guardian. The machine turned its head slightly, and for the first time, Elias felt something worse than fear. It wasn't looking at them. It was looking past them. Its voice dropped to a chilling murmur. The prison still holds, but no TFR long. Then the walls shuddered, and something beyond the vault, deeper below, screamed. Something much, much worse than the machine had begun to wake up. The scream wasn't something natural. It wasn't made of flesh or breath. It was a sound that bent reality, a sound that made the air feel too thick, like space itself was rejecting its presence. Captain Elias Voss felt his knees tremble. His mind screamed at him to run, but he was rooted in place. The Guardian machine turned its glowing red eye toward the vault's depths. Its stairs. The ancient construct raised one massive, clawed hand, and symbols along the walls flashed red. Warning signals, ancient alarms. But it was too late. The ground beneath them cracked open. Something was coming out. The horror below. The black mist began seeping from the cracks in the stone. It moved like liquid, yet it had a presence, an awareness. Rourke staggered back, gripping his rifle. That's not natural. That's... The mist lunged. It slammed into the Guardian, wrapping around its metal frame like living tendrils. The ancient machine shuddered, its red eye flickering wildly. You were in EVR meant to awaken. The Guardian growled, its voice a low mechanical snarl. But the mist laughed. It was a sound that came from nowhere and everywhere, a voice that didn't belong in the universe. Foolish machine, it whispered. They buried us to forget, but we never forgot. The tendrils tightened, and the Guardian's metal body began to crack. Sienna screamed, we need to move now. Elias didn't hesitate. Go, he roared, shoving his team toward the exit. Escape or death. The team ran. Behind them, the chamber shook violently, the ceiling beginning to collapse. The Guardian let out a final defiant roar, then exploded in a blinding burst of energy, taking the mist with it. For a moment, silence. Then, the mist reformed, and this time, it poured out of the vault like a living storm, rushing after them. The last thing Elias saw before reaching the surface was the mist forming a shape, a face, ancient and unfathomable, its eyes filled with something worse than hatred. It was hunger. The thing had waited for eons. And now, it was free. The Starfire entered Earth's orbit in silence. Captain Elias Voss sat at the command chair, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. Below them, the red pulse of the hidden signal flickered deep beneath the planet's surface. No human records had ever mentioned it. No satellite had detected it. But someone, or something, had buried it there. And now, it was waking up. The descent into the unknown. Initiating deep scan. Argos, the ship's AI, announced. The ship's scanners reached into the depths of Earth's crust, peeling away layers of rock and magma. The results appeared in fragments, at first just static, then blurry outlines. Then, finally, clarity. Elias's stomach twisted. Beneath the earth, hidden under kilometers of rock, lay a massive underground structure. It was not natural. It was not human-made. Sienna Carter, the xenolinguist, gasped as more details emerged. The walls of the structure were covered in symbols, alien symbols, etched in materials that defied every scientific explanation. This is impossible," she whispered. "This thing has been here for millions of years." Rourke's voice was tense, and we had no idea. Elias clenched his jaw. "We know now." The decision was made. They had to go down there. Breaking into the vault, the team suited up and boarded a small dropship, descending through Earth's atmosphere toward an isolated stretch of land, far from any human civilization. The signal was strongest here. As the dropship landed, the crew stepped out into a desolate wasteland, a crater where nothing grew. At the center stood an ancient stone slab, cracked but still pulsing with energy. Sienna ran her gloved hand over the carvings. These symbols, they matched the ones from the lost civilizations. "Translation?" Elias asked. Sienna hesitated, then spoke in a trembling voice. "They are still here." The ground rumbled beneath them. Then, with a deep, thunderous crack, the stone slab split open, revealing a dark passage leading deep underground. A gust of stale air hissed out, air that had not been touched for eons. The warning messages from extinct empires flashed in Elias's mind. "Do not awaken what they guard." But it was too late. They had already opened the door. The sky darkened, not with clouds, but with the rising shadows of the forgotten. They stretched across the land, creeping like a storm with no end. The air itself vibrated, filled with the whispers of civilizations that had been erased. Captain Elias Voss clenched his fists. No reinforcements were coming. No signal could break through the anomaly. They were on their own. But humans had never needed a rescue. They had always been the last ones standing. The truth behind the prison. Sienna's voice shook. "This isn't just some ancient horror. This is a prison break." The Forgotten's form shifted, its jagged smile widening. "Smart girl. Your ancestors put us here. Now we will return the favor." Elias took a step forward, his eyes locked on the entity. "Humanity doesn't build prisons without a reason. What were you?" The Forgotten laughed, the sound rattling reality itself. "We were gods. We were nightmares. We were the end of everything." The black mist surged forward, tendrils slashing through the ruins, consuming everything in their path. The land itself seemed to wither under their presence. Rourke fired his weapon, but the energy rounds vanished before hitting their target. "Damn it, nothing's working." Elias took a deep breath. "Because this isn't a battle." His mind raced, piecing together the fragments of lost history. It was never about fighting. It was about sealing them away. A desperate plan. Elias turned to the crumbling structures around them. The remains of an ancient containment facility. The symbols carved into the stone, the energy signatures. It wasn't a vault. It was a lock. "We need to reactivate the seal," Elias said, already sprinting toward the main structure. "That's how our ancestors stopped them before." Sienna and Rourke followed, dodging the shifting shadows that tried to consume them. The ground trembled as the Forgotten descended. "You cannot stop us. The galaxy will drown in shadow." Elias reached the center of the ruins, hands flying across the ancient control panels. The system was still alive. Flickering symbols danced across the screen. A forgotten language. But somehow, Elias understood. A warning. A question. "Do you wish to complete the sacrifice?" His blood ran cold. "This isn't just a seal," he whispered. "It's a trade." The Forgotten had been bound here, not just with technology, but with a cost. Something had to be given to lock them away. A life, or perhaps many lives. Sienna swallowed hard. What do we do? Elias looked up at the sky, at the writhing black mass consuming the stars. Then he pressed the command. The price of victory. The ruins lit up, golden light erupting from the ground. Energy surged through the air, forming barriers, chains, restoring the ancient prison. The forgotten screamed. Their forms shattered, dragged back into the abyss. The sky cleared, the air calmed, and the ruins sealed themselves shut once more. For a moment, everything was still. Then Elias collapsed to his knees, feeling an unbearable weight in his chest. The seal had worked, but something had been taken. He could feel it. Memories, time, something essential being drained from him. Elias. Sienna grabbed him, but he felt himself fading. The system had demanded a trade, and it had chosen him. As the darkness crept into his vision, he managed a final smile. "We stopped them," he whispered. "That's what matters." And then everything went black. Epilogue. The last note. Years later, in the deep records of Earth's hidden archives, a single file remained. A warning. A name. Elias Voss. No one knew where he had gone, but the message he left behind was clear. Never return to that place. Never break the seal. And never forget what we buried.